The first step is to use the export tool from the WordPress tools. This will create a export.xml file. Now use the npx executor to execute the WordPress export to Markdown. We're going to choose the export.xml file, set the output to go to an output folder. I don't really care to have the posts go into year folders or month folders. One folder is fine for this. And we definitely want to save the images that are attached to posts. So we're going to say yes. And then we certainly want to save the images from the body content. Custom post types, I'm not really sure what this is, so I'm just going to use the no. And there we go. We can see that it is now downloading all of the images from the posts and the posts themselves. And this should all go into the output folder. We can see now that we have all of our posts in the output folder, as well as a folder for images where all the images are stored. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to copy all of my posts and the images folder from the output into the Jekyll project that I downloaded. And we can see that they are copying one by one, and the project is currently rebuilding after each post is going into the post folder. I'm going to refresh the Jekyll site now, and now I can see my actual posts that I copied over from WordPress. The first problem I see is that the images aren't displaying, and that is because we're not referencing the images correctly. So I'm going to copy all of the images and I'm going to move them into the assets folder where they really should be located. And that's going to be into the images subdirectory of the assets folder. So let's go ahead and move all of those. The front matter for this template uses the key value image for the main image of the post. And our WordPress transfer used a key value called cover image. So we're just going to do a replace all to make sure that we correctly match that image field name. Now we also need to change the reference to the image to the full path where we moved the images, which is the assets/images. So let's go ahead and do that for this post, and then we'll go ahead and reserve the app, and we can just kind of verify that that is working correctly. Now, if I click on the post to go to it, I can see that it is not formatted correctly. And I'm going to check with one of the existing files from the template, and we can see that we are missing a field that is unique to this Jekyll template, and that is the layout field. So we need that layout post. We're going to need to put this into all of our posts. So let's go ahead and refresh that and make sure that this looks good. Now that is looking the way that it's supposed to look. And we can see that we don't have the embedded images, so we're obviously going to need to fix that. Obviously, the first problem here is that the path to the image is not correct. We need to include the assets directory. So let's go ahead and try that. And with a refresh, we can see that it is still not showing up. So we need to do something else. And I'll go ahead and include the site.base URL because that is the way that the template references images. And that still does not fix the issue. So let's try getting rid of these figure and figure caption tags that came with the export. And there we go. Now we can see that the figure is indeed correctly displaying. Now, if you have a lot of images in all of your posts, then your best bet is probably going to be to do a find all and replace all. So we're going to change this portion here, and that's going to find all of our embedded pictures. And then we can grab what it's supposed to look like, copy that, and put that into the replace field. And that's going to fix all of those path references to our embedded images. And then we need to remove the figure and the figure caption tags. And again, if you have a lot of posts, then the easiest thing to do would just be to do a find all and replace. So let's go ahead and just replace the figure tag with a blank space. And then we can open up a post to verify that that does indeed get replaced with nothing. Go ahead and replace that. Great. Let's go ahead and do that with the figure caption tag as well. Or let's do the closing tag first for the figure, replace all of those. And now we can easily do the same with the figure caption tag and the figure caption closing tag. There we go. That should fix all of our figures. Let's go ahead and remove some of the navigation items from the template that we don't really need. I'll just comment these out for now. And let's make sure our site name is what we want it to be. Go ahead and set this property. And I'll go ahead and just move the posts that came with the template to a different directory so that we're not showing them anymore, but I want to still have them as backup in case I want to reference them. And let's give this a refresh so we can see our own post here. And we still need to fix the images for the posts themselves. Now for this, I don't have that many posts, so I can just go ahead and paste in the correct file path. And we can see that these are now showing up correctly, just like we want them to. I can also see the tags down here. Looks like those actually transferred correctly. And we have this featured Boolean that we have from the template post. So we can put this on the post that we want to be featured in this template. Go ahead and set this to this particular one. And let's go ahead and do it in this post as well. Let's also put the author name. So let's go through all the posts and add the author here. And let's make sure in our config.yaml file, we actually have the author information that we want. So I'm just gonna have to manually input this information for Rachel here. And with the refresh, I can see that her name is appearing with each post. Maybe not with the avatar that we want, but we can also fix that up. So this is the avatar.png that's being used. Let's go ahead and just throw in a different picture. We'll call it avatar.jpg. And here we go. Now that we have a new reference to the avatar that we want, we can see that that's being used. Let's go ahead and initialize a Git repository, and let's make an initial commit to that Git repository. So we have all of our files that we want. We can check out the git ignore file just to make sure that our build is not being included. And we don't see anything from the build directory here in the files that we are committing. So everything looks good. Let's go ahead and just add a commit message here, initial commit. And then I'm going to hit publish branch. Now I already have the GitHub extension enabled, and I'm just going to go ahead and publish this to a private remote repository on my GitHub account. Now in Cloudflare, we're going to click the button to add a domain, and then we are going to type in the domain name that we own from our other DNS provider, we're essentially going to want to transfer it here into Cloudflare, or at least the DNS server names. So I'm going to type in Colorado Littles, hit next. We're going to choose the free plan, of course. Now, Cloudflare is automatically going to pull the DNS records from our other DNS provider. It's going to give us the 2 name servers that we need to change. So in AWS, where I'm currently hosting this, I am going to remove these name servers, and then I'm going to paste in the 2 name servers that Cloudflare provided for me. So let's put those in there. Hit Save Changes, and now we've successfully changed the name servers for that domain. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to Lightsail, where I'm actually hosting the current WordPress instance. And now that I'm good with the Jekyll web page, I am just going to go ahead and delete this instance. So I'm no longer being charged a monthly fee for this virtual server. And then I'm going to make sure that I have nothing else referring to it. So the static IP address, I need to delete this. And then I'll look at the other tabs here, storage, make sure I have no storage, snapshots, don't have any snapshots. Okay, we've changed the name servers. So let's go ahead and hit the continue button in Cloudflare. And I'll go ahead and hit the check to see if the changes to the name servers have taken effect. And it says that it can take up to a few hours to update. But in my case, it did not take this long. So let's go ahead and try refreshing the page here, see if anything changes. And here we go. It says, great news, Cloudflare is now protecting your site. So we've successfully moved the name servers from AWS to Cloudflare. So now in AWS, I am good with deleting this hosted zone. So I'm no longer charged a monthly rate just to have this hosted zone in AWS. And I can't just outright delete it. I need to go in here and actually delete our DNS records first before it'll allow me to delete the hosted zone. So let's go ahead and delete the records that we can delete. I'll go ahead and see if basically just jump through each one of these and make sure that I'm able to delete the records. And then now that I've deleted all those records, I should be able to come in here and delete the hosted zone. And there we go. I've now successfully deleted that hosted zone in my original DNS provider. Now go up to the search bar where it says go to and type in pages. And now we're going to go to workers and pages. So this is where we're going to create our front-end hosted area for our Jekyll site. I'm going to hit the create button. Now go over to the pages tab and then hit connect to Git for our Git repository. And I already have my GitHub account here, but I don't have the repository that I want. So I need to make sure I enable that repository to be viewed by Cloudflare. So I'll navigate over to GitHub, authenticate myself. And now that I'm in, I can see the Cloudflare workers and pages here. And then I'm just going to go to only the repositories and then add the Colorado Littles repository so that Cloudflare can access it. And let's just make sure that we have the right permissions granted for Cloudflare. Let's go to Applications. And then I can see that permission updates have been requested from Cloudflare. So I'm going to go ahead and accept the new permissions. And then we can verify that we only have the repositories that we want. And now we see Colorado Littles to choose from. So let's go ahead and hit the begin setup. And then I'm going to come down and choose Jekyll. The build command is Jekyll build, so that's fine. Let's go ahead and add an environmental variable here. And we are going to select a specific Ruby version, and that is 3.1.2. Hit save and deploy. And it's going to start the build process. Now, the first time that this does build and deploy, it can take some time, so just be patient with it. Okay, it'll say upload complete and success. So the project is now deployed and available at this particular domain. I can see that it's working. This is live. So I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. And then what I want to do is add a custom domain. I don't want to use that pages dev domain. And I'm going to put in the domain name that I own, Colorado Littles. And it's just going to go ahead and create a DNS record for me. Just basically a CNAME record. And now, after that, the site is going to be live on that record.